Hello, if you can hear me. And let us turn this off. Hopefully, that's it. One day I'll know for sure when everything's all working, but yeah, hopefully that's it. How's it going, guys? If you're there, a little bit overdue to answer some comments and whatnot. There's quite a few here, so I thought, considering we just published the newest video, may as well sit down and answer some questions as well and have a look what we've had over the last 2 weeks. I think it's been 2 weeks since the last live stream. A lot has happened, which kind of prevented me a little bit from doing the last live stream. It's just been busy time of year. I'll show you what I've been doing, not just work wise, but quite a while ago I put a video or a short up, I think, of me standing on a giant skateboard, and that giant skateboard was actually put in place this week. So I will show you this. Right, where are we? Oh, that'll do. So this is the Instagram of Mungify Activity Zone, and this week, or over the last couple of weeks, we just literally posted this skateboard 4 meters up in the air. This is the world's largest skateboard, and it is the biggest fiberglassing job I have ever done in my life. So it is now publicly being displayed at Mungify Activity Zone, which is a park across the road from my work, which is it's built and managed by a charitable trust, which I'm a part of the committee. And so for the last 2 years, we've been working on fixing this skateboard up. We didn't build the skateboard. It was actually built 2 years ago. 4 years ago for the Olympics, the first Olympics to ever have skateboarding in. And it travelled around the country, stopping off at towns to kind of celebrate the Tokyo Olympics. And then after it did the tour, and after the Tokyo Olympics, they didn't know what to do with it. So we applied to get it, and they donated it to us. But it was only built as a prop, So it wasn't watertight. It was never meant to have a long life. So we've spent the last 2 years, a big team of engineers, volunteers, making sure that it's all watertight, dry. It had litres and litres of water in it, so we had to drill it all out, cut big holes in it, dry it all out, re-fiberglass it, waterproof it. We got roofers to put roofing materials on the deck side, new wheels, the whole thing. So yeah, that's kind of been the big happening over the last couple of weeks, which is just on top of work. It's just taken up a lot of extra time as well. But yeah, there you go. If you care to have a deeper look, Mungify Activity Zone, or the Maz Park on Instagram. I think Mungify Activity Zone on Facebook. What is this video? This is that's me, in fact. Oh, this is the installation of the giant skateboard, which was actually pretty crazy to watch these engineers at work lift this thing up off the ground, get it on those posts, first try. Ridiculous. Even those chains, they had to pre-cut these chains so that it was lifted at the correct angle, so it would land on the posts at 8 degrees. I think it's an 8-degree lean and a 15-degree lean nose to tail, something like that. But yeah, that's it. It was a big cut lap. But anyway, onwards. Comments, questions. There's quite a few of them, not too many. I think we'll blast through them tonight because I had a quick look beforehand, and some of them are just sort of comments, you know, but they don't come with questions, so we'll skip through them. Cabacranella commented on the last live stream. So he was the shaper in Oz, OG from the 70s, very long career, who got me in touch with SJS surfboards we were talking about on the last live stream. So he said, I thanked him on the last live stream, and he said, too easy, we're all one big family, especially real core board makers and repairers, surf for life. Which I thought was interesting, because the other thing we discussed on the last live stream was gatekeeping of techniques of shaping boards and repairing boards and glassing and materials and all the rest. And yeah, this is kind of the attitude that I've experienced mostly in the surfboard industry. Not that I would say I'm a big part of the surfboard industry, but yeah, most shapers I've spoken to are pretty forthcoming and easy. So that's an easy one because there is no real question. So I'm just gonna we'll give him one of them. We'll give him one of them. Easy as that. Thank you, man. Easy. And then here's to you. Well, here's to you too. Vavi. Where's a beer? There's a beer. This is kind of what I was talking about when I ran through them a little bit. Not a lot of them are questions. Some of them are. The shapes and colours are immaculate. So that's a fish board that I did, which actually I have pulled up right there. So he was talking about this fish Twinser that I made a little while ago now. Still for sale. If you want to buy a fish Twinser, it is there. It's available. It's still shiny. It would be a fun one. I'm super keen to ride it myself, but I can't really afford to buy it, if I'm honest. So yeah, won't be doing that. So yeah, it's available in Shapers Collective. That one, I was really happy with that. So the colours for it, I kind of got off. I don't know if you've ever seen The Boys. It's a show on Netflix, I think, about some superheroes. It was originally a comic, apparently, and then they made a TV series out of it. Gnarly show. So the colours came from one of the characters called The Deep. Don't know if you've ever watched. I would recommend it if you haven't seen it. Stoked on this one. Don't know if you've watched The Boys, but the colours are from the character called The Deep. Easy. What have we got next? Richard, super helpful. This is what I've been needing. This was the video on sanding techniques. So it's kind of all the questions I get asked most about sanding. Yeah. So that turned out to be quite a needed video, which was good. I learnt a little bit from it too, because I kind of had to analyse how I sand things. So yeah, it was good for me as well. G'day Sam, how are we? Welcome. Answering questions. Reading comments. Super duper important to do. So this was, I think I know which one this was, but considering there's people on, let's watch this because I'm actually interested to know how the audio is for you guys. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I know which one this is, but let's try and Oh, there's probably going to be an ad or something disgusting. Let's pull that away. Hopefully not.
Give you one
There's
tip
not.
that I think is
But now you can't see it, but you can hear it. Sorry guys, I suck at this.
overlooked when it comes to laminating surfboards. It would be
Oh.
to keep a book and record every step of every board that you fiberglass. This will give you a resource to reference back to for things to have, and it takes the guesswork out of laminating each board if it's not something that you're doing all day, every day. As you glass more boards and you get better at doing it, you'll end up using less resin on each job. So updating that book is important because the first board you ever glassed is going to take a lot more resin than the last board that you've glassed.
Forgotten about that board.
If I could give you one tip that I think is overlooked.
So that's what I say. How was the audio on that, guys? Was it too quiet? Too loud? Could you not hear anything at all?
And record every step.
We haven't really done much of that.
Fiberglass.
Let's close that. And go back. I have been having some issues with my internet out here the last couple of days. So hopefully it's not too bad. It's certainly not doing anything quickly right now though. Audio's a bit quiet, but plenty clear enough. That's good to know. So I can tweak that, but we haven't really done much testing of like watching things. I'm scared of copyrights. So yeah, that video basically was highlighting the importance of writing down every time you laminate a board, your quantities and your glassing schedules and all the rest. MJ Rally, oh there we go, sanding video definitely has been the most helpful for me too. Good to hear, glad it helped. So yeah, it is super duper important, and I made the mistake of doing several boards, maybe 5 or 6 boards, and not writing any of that down. And every time I finished the board I would think, next time I have to start a book. And so yeah, start the book for sure. And like this guy who had to make this bullshit says, especially if you're using expensive epoxy, because it does come in handy. I've been doing a series this week for the members of the channel. Oh, it's Rory. How are you? Yeah, I got to get that Ethernet cable, Rory. I will write it in my diary after this and have a look for the Ethernet. We're going to be running Ethernet cables through my yard. It's going to be crazy. Who have we got next? I'm sure I was just saying something before Rory rudely interrupted me. Jake, would you be able... Oh, this... I was looking forward to this one. Would you be able to let me know where you purchased and or where I could purchase this brand of expanding foam from? I've secured the... Oh, I've scoured the internet for this brand and I cannot seem to find it. Almost my whole quiver is out of commission. That is unfortunate. Just waiting for repair because I wanted to make sure I purchased the proper materials. I just didn't want to do a crappy job that would need to be redone anyway, you know. But yeah, I cannot find it anywhere. Could you please help? So I can a little bit. This video, I think I actually used a different foam that I use now, but it was kind of the same story. So I don't use a brand of foam. I know a guy who imports small quantities of foam for his taxidermy work, and so I get my foam from him. But he's not a company. He's not bringing in a brand. He's bringing in raw materials from a foam manufacturer. I don't know where he's getting it from. Maybe Australia, maybe the States. I have no idea. So in order for me to give you my foam supplier, I would be providing you with either his personal phone number or his personal email address, and I'm not going to do that because that would probably irritate him if I doxed him on YouTube. So yeah, it's not a case of me wanting to like hoard the brand name to myself because it's the best foam. It's just a case of I don't use a brand of it. I don't have a supplier. It's just a guy who likes to stuff animals with foam, and so I kind of tag onto his orders, you know. So the answer to that is kind of no, I can't help you. Oh, that's what I was saying. Thanks, Sam. You reminded me. A chance to watch the first short you posted yesterday, but it's come just in time for me. I'm looking at a CI board to pick up for $100 to fix, and the foam has separated from the stringer. Oh, so that would be the crease shorts, Sam? The public ones, yeah, not the members ones, the Redwood board. So that's what I was saying. You reminded me, Sam, about that last video, this one down here, when it comes to like recording your quantities of resin for boards. I've been doing a series for the members of the channel the last week or so, and we've been glassing a wooden surfboard, which I haven't done before. I've installed boxes and leash plugs, and I've done resin coats on wooden boards. A buddy of mine makes hardwood, hollow chambered boards, but I'd never fully fiberglassed a board before. So that book has come in real handy because it's given me a gauge of like what quantities of resin to make. Once that series done and we have finished that board, and maybe once we've finished the series that started today on the crease, I might actually open those members' videos to the public just to show the public what they but also it was quite a cool project. It's almost done now. It just needs to be final sanded and polished, and it's all done. MJ Rally, I bought 2-part expanding foam at my local surf supplier in the USA. I think it's £4. They sell it by the quart, I think. Yeah, it's getting easier and easier to get, I think. Had plenty of stock ready to go. Yeah. The surfboard manufacturers seem to be cottoning onto it, which is really good. And hardware stores, you can find it. And then, like I've always said since the very beginning, even the video I have specifically on these foam products, I've always said, just Google your local taxidermist and ask them what foam or where they get their foam from, because they're generally using 56 kg foam, which is what we want, and they're going to have foam suppliers. So if in doubt, ring a taxidermist. Google one of them, which is what I did. That's exactly what I did, which is why I don't want to give this guy's phone number out. So Jake, I can't really help. I do have a video specific to the foam and touch base on this a little. I don't use a particular brand. My foam guy is kind of like a weed dealer, you know? Like, you don't just give his name out to just anybody because it's just a guy. I've got like a foam dealer, which is weird. I don't use a particular brand. I contacted a local, here we go, taxidermist, and asked to tag onto his orders of foam as they stuff dead things with the same 56 kg foam. I can't share my supplier because he's not a company, just a dude. A cool dude. Tried to talk me hard into getting into taxidermy. He really wanted me to try doing taxidermy. I don't know if there's like a shortage or what. He is kind of like a weed dealer, yeah. He's like, I never really thought about it before, but yeah, only friends of friends get my foam dealer's number, you know. I don't just hand that out to people at the skate park willy-nilly. Try your local surf supply store, or if all else fails, Google your nearest taxidermist. We'll throw the shaka in at the end. Yeah, there we go. So I'm sure that question is going to come up a lot, but yeah, that's what it is. If I ever find like a brand, you know, that you can buy off the shelf, I will definitely let you guys know. I've honestly never used an off the shelf brand, because the first foam I was using, the one I was using in this video, another ding repairer in New Zealand, he sent me the contact, which was a guy bringing it in for taxidermists, but he wasn't a taxidermist. And then he kind of blew it in the end. I used him for a couple of years, or a few years maybe, and then he did something, and I can't remember what it was, but he pissed me off. So then I started ringing around and finding another. Oh, he sent me the wrong density, I think, and then refused to trade it back in. Yeah, he sent me like a 28 kg foam when I needed a 56 kg foam. And then when I said this is the wrong foam, he tried to sell me another kit, but I just spent like $80 on a kit, and yeah, it was just a thing. So I found someone else, someone better. And my foam guy is the dude. He's a funny guy. Back to the same sanding video. Alf. This is pure gold for me as a DIY warrior. Glad to be of help. I'm glad that video, making that video, quite often when I edit videos I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is going to fly, because this is a lot of theory, you know. I think that video I even had the whiteboard out, so you know it's serious when the whiteboard comes out and there's diagrams and things. Glad it was helpful. Mikey, what do you got? Awesome video, bro. Can you give me the detail of the products you use so I can get them and repair a few dings as well? Appreciate it. This seems to come up every time I do a live stream on this video. I might actually pin this comment to the top. Because yeah, every time we do this, I end up writing this. So this is the last time, I promise. What did we use? Expanding PU foam, polyresin, micro balloons. Oh, I forgot me dot. What else? 6 ounce probably. Oh, let's just either 6 ounce or 4 ounce cloth. I forget. Wax additive for sanding coats. Sanding coats. Oh no, I forgot me dot again. Dot. Molotov. That's the lot, I think. Oh yeah, Rory, we need Ethernet cables. Pin. I'll pin that to the top, and then other people will see it. And I'll never have to answer that question again. Same board. Fresh Twinser turned out real pretty. What's the length and the width? That's a good question. what is the length and the width? It is 5'8" by, actually I should have it right there, 2 1/4 and 21 1/2. 2 1/4 by 21 1/2. There we go. For sales at Shapers Collective, if you want it. Why has that changed? Ah, same guy. Alf. Sorry, haha, one question. Do you put on finishing epoxy on both sides in the same day? That is a really good question, which hasn't come up before. No, is the answer. So that's one thing that customers don't seem to think about, which is fair enough, not having a go at them, but certainly something they don't take into account with especially epoxy boards. Epoxy boards with damage to something like a rail, nose, tail, anywhere on the edge where you're repairing the top side of the board and the underside of the board, and the board is laying flat, and so you can't really work on the other time because the resin will just fall off with gravity. I'm actually doing a surf ski in my shed at home at the moment, and I'm having that issue because this surf ski was almost snapped completely in half, and so I'm working around the entire circumference of the surf ski. The repair is the whole way around, and so applying epoxy resin to a round instrument, I'm having to do my final resin coats in small portions and rotating the surf ski as I do it, because otherwise it all just runs off. So the big question is, if you have especially an epoxy ding, if you got one on the underside and one on the deck side, sorry, not necessarily on the flat, but let's say the rail, a lot of that process of fixing that rail or nose or tail, even though it's only one ding, let's say it's a fin chop in the rail, it may as well be two dings, because you have to work on this side and then allow that drying time or curing time for your epoxy, and then flip the board over and do the other side. And quite often that's like, we'll resin coat this side one day and then the next day we'll resin coat that. So it's kind of two jobs in one ding, which takes twice as long. And also, if it could be another board, you know, it's hard to charge for jobs like that. Are you having audio issues there? Let me know if you're having bad audio. So the answer to that is no. I generally do them a day apart, or I generally do each side one day apart. Occasionally I'll pour one, oh geez, that's French for pour. I'll pour one side first thing in the morning and the other side last thing in the evening. And then you're normally masking off on the edge of that rail there. So in the morning you're going to pour this side of your fin gouge or whatever it is, flip the board over in the afternoon and mask off on that rail apex and do the top side. How's that audio? Can you still hear me? Imagine I was just sitting here talking to myself and nobody could hear what I was saying. Who is next? Sam Pep. Appreciate sharing your expertise, especially about the micro balloons. Pleasure. Thanks for watching. My chair's squeaking. It's really irritating. Sam, I can only seem to find 50 kg pour foam in the UK. That should be close enough, right? And you can hear me, which is all that matters, really. Yeah, 56 is a pretty specific number. So I would say 50 would be close enough. Just keep in mind that if you pour... oh, there you go. Good news, MJ. If you pour the foam really deep and then you sand it, the closer you get to the core of that foam, the softer the foam is going to be. So if you're starting at 50 kg, and I don't know, but I'm assuming that's like the skin of the foam after it's expanded. So by the time you sand it down, I don't know what it might be, but let's say it's now 45 kg. And same for me. Although I say I use 56 kg foam, likely by the time I sand it down to level, it's softer than that. I don't know how you test it. There must be some way to be able to do like a density test on it. That would be interesting, actually. But yeah, just keep that in mind. But if you can get 50, 50 is good. I've used 36 in the past, and it did alright. The way I look at it always is, no matter what, even if you got a 36 kg poly foam, it is still going to be better than the highest density EPS foam, which from what I've looked at is like around 28 kg. So you're not using EPS, so your foam is going to be stronger than an EPS blank, basically, regardless of whether you're using 56, 36, 50, whatever it is. So yeah, you should be fine. You should be fine. 40 to 50 something, so I'm guessing 45 at the softest. Yeah, I'd guess that too. And it's sometimes you can, like, if you're filling like a fin box void or something and you manage to fill it perfectly so it's only like that high above the glass, and then you just sand down like a centimetre worth of foam, it's the best. And that foam is so hard, and quite often it doesn't require skimming with micro balloons too, because you haven't sort of gone into those air bubbles and opened them all up. Hard to predict though, the expansion rate. David, do you think the Thunderbolt technology boards that HI, CJ and others make out of EPS are the same category of highly unsustainable? Ooh, touchy subject. It's just EPS, yeah, it's all the same. Like, the problem with EPS is, even if you could make a really environmentally friendly green EPS, like the whole process is like they're farming seaweed sustainably and putting that in a press and blowing it up into EPS. The problem with it is it's still going to be ruined once water gets in there, and so the board with all the fiberglass on it is still eventually going to be thrown away much sooner than boards made of more traditional materials like poly and PU. So to me, it's, yeah, EPS is just unsustainable because of how much it hates water, basically. It trips me out, some of these companies around the world, and there's some really amazing ones sort of working towards that green, sustainable surf type of angle. And I listened to a podcast not that long ago on Surf Splendor of a guy somewhere in the States who's doing wooden boards, and the only thing I can really remember is he makes a board called the Corky, which is a soft top, but it's made of cork instead of foam and all that stuff. And it was a really cool podcast. It was interesting, very interesting. But all of his boards, as cool as they are, they're kind of wooden veneer skins, and I don't think he's using resin or fiberglass. He was using some other product to seal it. But at the end of the day, they were still EPS inside. And so if the board ever gets water in it, if it ever hits a rock and gets dinged and water gets in it, the board's ruined. So the biggest letdown for me is the EPS. So although I don't know anything about their EPS specifically, and it is highly likely a much higher quality foam than if you bought a TV and you get that foam in the box that packs the TV, it's probably a much better foam than that. But at the end of the day, it still doesn't like water, and it's a product designed to go in the water. Josh Shannon, love the content. Nice to have you here, Josh. Can you please elaborate pros and cons on installing fin boxes pre versus post lamination, as there are people on both sides that argue for and against? Yeah, I don't know if... I think it comes down to what method you find easier when you're building the board, and whatever works for you and is safest for you, then do that. I prefer to do pre-lamination, so I'm doing my lamination over the boxes. I don't know why I prefer to do it that way. It's just my order of doing things, basically. But I do post-lamination box installs every week because of ding repairs, and when I do ding repairs, I fill the void with foam. So pull the old box out, fill it with foam, sand it flush, laminate the whole thing, resin coat the whole thing, sand it, so I'm left with a board with no fin box, basically, and then I route into that. So yeah, I do both, but if I'm doing a new board, I do pre-lamination. And sorry, I'm trying to think why one would be better than the other, but I honestly can't answer it with any real insight. I guess, yeah, okay, I'll give you one thing I don't like about it is I don't like patches over boxes, because occasionally when the board's finished, so you imagine you laminate the whole board, it's all finished, and then you route your boxes in, install them, and then you've got to put like football patches over the top, or like a big tail patch over the whole thing. Better for your expensive better for your expensive router bits, for sure. I definitely try to only router bits in foam if I can, although I've just done a wooden board this week. But yeah, those router bits aren't cheap, FCS and futures. So yeah, there's that as well. It can be a little annoying doing them post lamination because the boxes are so tight. Quite often, in fact 90% of the time, when I put a new box in a ding repair, so I replace it. Once I do my route, I have to run around the edges of that route with the Dremel sander, just because the fit is so tight, you can't get the box in straight away. So there's an extra step there. But yeah, do whatever works for you. I don't think there's a really good reason to do one or the other. Whatever you're comfortable with. Back to David. Hope that answers your question, Josh. In the most long-winded way possible. At the end of the day, it's all EPS, and it's all great until it gets wet. Once it gets wet, the countdown is on for the end of the foam's life. Does that make sense? To me, making watercraft out of foams that don't like water is just a little silly. That's basically it. Their foams could be of the highest quality, but at the end of the day, is it going to do that? No, once they are wet, they are compromised. Touchy subject. And he's got another one as well. Way better. Oh yeah, well we all know that. I don't know why everyone writes that on that video. Way better than the Baywatch video. Definitely cool. Great job. Cheers, man. Appreciate it. Paul. Oh, this is... Oh no, this is a post. So not even a video, but like a post. I think that's what YouTube call it. And it was basically announcing that the video that came out today is coming out, and that we now have 5,000 subscribers to the channel, which is crazy. And Paul said, "Congrats, mate. Next thing you know, it'll be 10k and 100k," which is super trippy to think about. But also now, I think once I hit the 5k mark, it's kind of like, oh, okay, maybe it could be, because I never thought this would get to 5,000 subscribers ever. I remember getting to 100, and that was like a big, like, yeah, sick. So, yeah, right now, 10k seems unrealistic, but 5k seemed unrealistic. So maybe 100k isn't that unrealistic. Although I don't know how... I can't imagine 100,000 people wanting to watch me sand. It's a pretty niche thing, what I do and what you guys watch. Not everybody likes watching other people sand things. How's the audio, guys? Is it still... Oh yeah, there we go. No, I was looking at the wrong thing. Let me know if there's any issues with audio or anything. Cheers, man. Just got to do it all over again. And we'll be at 10k. Why has that changed again? Sorry guys. Occasionally when I type, it triggers OBS, which is the software I use here. So my number 1 button does that. So when I wrote 10k, it did that. Audio's good for Sam. That is good. That's all I care about. Cheers, Sam. Pedro, hey, great video as usual. This is the shape stains and sprays video. Any tips on which type of ink to use as pigment for polyester resin? Thanks. So this video was made for Vissler's Add Color competition, and I didn't win, so I'm pretty convinced it's rigged. I'm fairly convinced. Oh, how's the Panda board, Sam? It's cool, yeah? Cheers. I actually have the original sketches for the Panda board in front of me here. So, pigment. I can't talk about pigment too much because I'm actually really inexperienced with... I don't do a lot of colour work with pigment. I prefer to use paint. Even for my repairs, I use paint primarily. It's very rare I use pigment for repairs. And the last board I made, the chessboard, that did use pigment and some swirls. Actually, maybe one before that did too. Yeah, the Joker board did too. But I'm not good at it. I'm learning. I'm definitely learning. So all I can do is show you the pigments that I use, which are Norski, I think, resin, cloth and brushes and things from little pots of pigment paste, and they order for them, and they rang me like 5 minutes later and they said, hey, we see that you've ordered some more of this stuff and we're at like the end of our stock right now and we're not getting any more in. So once they're sold, they're sold. So we've got a box, and if you pay us $100, we'll just send you the entire box with everything that's in it. And I was like, alright, why not? So I sent them $100 and they sent me a box. This is there's a few different reds in there. I think there might have been a couple of greens and a blue or something, but it's like 75% California orange, and the rest now is basically like 2 different types of red, and that's it. And I will never use them, and I don't really know what on earth I'm going to do with them. So they've sat in my workshop for a long time. So these are what I've been using as of late, and very happy with them. I haven't used all of these colours, I don't think, but certainly most of them, and yeah, I can't fault them at all. Being as inexperienced with pigments as I am and not doing a lot of resin colour work, but I have no complaints over these at all. Actually, I do have one complaint, I lie. So one of them, I think it was the green one day I was dropping it into the pot of resin, and it's kind of thick, like it's liquid, but it's kind of thick. You got to squeeze the bottle a little bit to get your drops out, and when I squeezed it, the whole end of the bottle with the dropper came off, and the whole bottle went poof into my resin. Emptied like half a bottle of pigment into 400 ml of poly resin or something like that. So that's my one complaint, but I don't think that's normal. So yeah, and they last forever. You're not like 3 drops of this stuff and you're plenty tinted, you know. You're not using huge quantities. So although they're only 25 ml bottles, they're really small, and they're just shy of $20. Add postage to it, they'll be $20, but they will last you a long time. So yeah, that's what I use. So I might even copy that link and I can give that to, who was it? Pedro. So in this particular video, it was all paint even. I didn't use any pigment at all. This particular video, it's all paint work. I actually don't use a lot of resin tints or pigments, and don't have a lot of experience with them. That said, I use Norski pigments. I'll leave a link. I'll leave a link here for you. Oh, I did it again. It's the exclamation mark. How's that? 2. And we'll stick that link there. That makes sense, yeah? Deer. That was the nose repair. pretty sure it would have been 6 ounce, but I don't quite remember this one in particular, but I'd guess 6 ounce. And would I? One layer is probably enough, but no harm in adding 2 if you aren't sure. I'm pretty sure I would have used 6. I remember the video, I remember the ding. It was a nose ding right beside the stringer, so you could actually like see the edge of the stringer in the ding. But I guess 6 ounce and 1 layer is probably enough, but no harm in adding 2 if you aren't sure. And there you go. How would you do it if you have a hand-shaped board with double concave and set up Futures Finbox? Good question. So this video was using the little yellow doodad that measures your cant angle on your fin placement. So how would you do it if you have a hand-shaped board? So it's probably not perfect both sides. If I hand-shaped it, it's not going to be perfect both sides. With a double concave, so you're going to have like a high point at the stringer leading down to the fin boxes, and Futures fin box. The fin box type doesn't really matter, but there's probably a couple of ways you could do it. Third Earth, he's here. How are you? I went to the local lumber hardware store where they mix paint. I somehow talked the paint mixing lady into pouring me a sample of each of the paint pigments for free. It works with epoxy and poly. Yeah, I've got a mate in town who does the same thing. He just uses paint, and he goes to the hardware store and he just asks for little sample pots, and that's what he uses. He only uses epoxy, West Systems, and he's been doing it for years. Actually, it was a crazy funny thing. So he is one of the guys that helped on the giant skateboard we were talking about at the start of this whole escapade. And so you can see second. So the the rails of the skateboard here, you can see they're brown. Yeah, and that is literally paint in epoxy resin. That's all that is, and just paint from the hardware store, like house paint. So yep, it works. I tend not to do it. I have done it on my own stuff. I probably wouldn't do it to a customer's board, although we did do it to the world's largest skateboard. But we're volunteering, so we got away with it. I probably wouldn't do it to a customer's board just because I'd be nervous something might happen. It'd be fine for 99 repairs, but that 100th one, I don't know, it would peel or crack or something. So yeah, I tend to... That's why I use paint, though, generally under glass or on top of glass for epoxy. But yeah, it does work. Good morning. Welcome. Morning. It's night time here. It's 12:30 at night. I guess it's technically morning. So, if you've got a super gnarly double concave, I always want to call it W concave, because on downhill skateboards, a double concave is called a W concave. There's a few ways to do it. I probably won't type this answer out here. I'll come back to it after the stream, but I can talk about it. And probably the easiest way would be just to get a ruler or something straight and lay it on your stringer, basically. So your high point, your fin boxes are over here. Your stringer is the high point in the middle. I don't know if you can see what the hell I'm doing here. So lay a straight edge from the high point towards your boxes, and then obviously it's going to rock on that high point, so you're going to want to pack it up at each end and get it level, and then somehow talk the lady into pouring me a sample of each paint pigment. Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Okay, I've never done that. I can't say that I've done that. That's smart. Yeah, I've only used paint. Even occasionally my airbrush paints I've used, which are water-based, and I've used them in both epoxy and poly. And they've worked alright. They've done alright. But yeah, paint pigment, I'm guessing it's kind of the same as resin pigment. I wonder what the difference there is. That could be a Google rabbit hole. So yeah, James, if you happen to watch this video, I'll come back and I'll write out a lengthy explanation, but I won't make all these boys watch me write a lengthy explanation. But basically, put a flat plane, get the board, and then you can measure your fin angles accurately. And future fin box, the angles in the fin, so it doesn't really matter if you've got a dummy fin for futures and it says 6 degrees on the side of it, then when you sink your fin box in and you're checking your cant angle, you're trying to get 6 degrees, because if that fin is at 6 degrees, it means that the box is at 0 degrees. If the box is tilted, then it's going to mess with the angle of the fin. So yeah, it shouldn't really matter technique wise between FCS and future. Sam, it's you. Oh look, you're leaving all the comments, Sam. So this is the members only series we've done this week on the wooden redwood board. Local builder broke his arm, couldn't go to work, so took him a week. He went and bought a railway sleeper and honed it all, milled it all, and made a redwood surfboard out of it, which is super cool. His first ever board, which he will surf just to try it, but it's primarily going to be a wall hanger. So we've glassed it with 3-ounce fiberglass, all epoxy, 1 layer each side, just 1 rail wrap, and that is waiting to be sanded and polished tomorrow, possibly, maybe more like Wednesday, but we'll see. So Sam, yeah boy. And he says, weird about that fin box. I wonder... Sorry, Sam, I missed your comment. I always try and answer the members' comments if I can. I wonder if the other box would have fit it unsanded. Yeah, just to see if it was the box or the route for some reason. I'd love to hear you speak to the guy who built this and just have a chat about his side of building it versus your side of glassing it. Give him some tips about the sharp edges, bigger fin blocks, etc. So yeah, that's... So I routed the fin boxes into this board, futures, and did the first route, which took quite a while because you're routing into wood. So the board's hollow, but he'd put wooden blocks inside the board where the fin boxes and the leash plugs have to go. So it takes some time to route that. Finally got it routed, and then went to put the fin box in, and I just couldn't get the fin box in. It was like a post lamination route, and I wanted to run the Dremel sander around the edges, but being wood, I didn't want to mess with it too much. So instead of doing that, I sanded the actual box itself, and eventually we got there, we got it in, and then I did the route on the other side and expected to have to do the same thing, sand the box. Went to put the box in, and it went in perfectly straight away first time. So yeah, Sam, after I'd installed the boxes, I was thinking about it, and I thought, damn, I should have tried to put another box in that first route, because I reckon it was probably the box. Because I had to sand that box quite a bit to get it in there, way more than I thought I would have had to. So I think it was the box itself. So I should have just swapped boxes, and then if it was the box, I could have sent that one back to my supplier and just gotten another one. And I'd love to hear you speak about the guy who built this board and have a chat about his side of building it versus your side of glassing it. Yeah, I'll have a chat to him and see if he wants to do something like that. Give him some tips about the sharp edges. We definitely spoke about the sharp edges because I noticed them immediately. As soon as he brought them in, I was like, ooh. For the guys that haven't watched the video, the heart on the tail of the board was really sharp, like 90 degrees, so I had to sand it rounder so that I could wrap my cloth. I just saw Sam wrote that the stream's getting a bit choppy. Let me press a button here and see if it does anything. Let me know if it gets any better. Or I'll just disconnect the internet completely and mess it all up for everyone. Let's give that a go. Let me know if it's better, worse. I feel like we're almost there. Yeah, if we can survive. Yeah, so I'll hit him up and see if he wants to talk about that. And yeah, bigger fin blocks. So the blocks he put in the board to be routed to put the fin boxes into. A Future's fin box is 15 centimeters long, and his blocks were 15 centimeters long. So it was a pretty tight route. But we made it there eventually. We did make it. Top Deck Dog. I never wipe... Oh, so this was cleaning squeegees. I never wipe squeegees and actually find that they don't stay as clean if you do that. I leave whatever resin is on there until it's dry, then bend the squeegee and all the resin peels away like magic, leaving the squeegee brand spanking new. Yes, I have tried that myself because I've forgotten to wipe the squeegee and then I've gone to use it and it's got resin on it. So I've tried to like bend and break the resin off. It does work the first 2 or 3 times I found, but then it I find your squeegee eventually kind of gets little creases in it and things, and I don't like that. But it does work. If you forget to wipe your squeegee, you can bend the resin off it. I can't spell that word. Definitely? Defiantly? Definitely? Sure. No? Definitely. There we go. That's a hard one. I definitely have had to use this method before when I've forgotten to wipe my squeegees down. It works for sure. Horses for courses. How's it? Is it less choppy now? DN on my yarn. This guy says the board is nicely done, but that working table is pretty schmick too. Did you make it? Fresh Twins. That would be the board rack, I'm guessing. Or the shaping stands. The shaping stands, you mean? My landlord at work is an engineer. So sometimes I... Oh, it is better, Sam. Good work. So sometimes I manage to talk him into welding together my napkin drawings. Yeah, if you can have a landlord who's an engineer, it can be really helpful for... He's done 2 shaping stands, so the ones I sand on in the ding repair shed, the stands in the shaping bay themselves, and all of my glassing racks. He's welded them all together, done them all. The glassing racks are all adjustable, so they're on threads or sliders with like a bolt through them. And all of the bases are car tire or car wheels, like rims, basically. So yeah, handy to know an engineer for that kind of stuff. This comment I've seen it tripped me out because it says, look at that container. Thanks you. And I don't get it. And I watched the video specifically. I was like, container? What? The only container I'm using is the little plastic 30mm container. So I'm going to like that and move on. Dumpy, if you watch this video, clarify that for me. Primal Otter. Good name. Just curious, are there risks of having such a beefy repair next to a normal stringer causing stress concentrations around the repair that might make further damage more likely in the area? So he's talking about a short that I posted today where the stringer, the board was creased, the stringer fractured, it cracked. So we put 24 ounces of glass either side of that stringer, like laminated the stringer. And so he's saying, is there any risk to building that area up too strong so that it might snap the surrounding area of the stringer, which is possible with like a crease repair or a snap repair. You can do your repair on the crease or the snap so strong that you actually end up buckling the board at either end of the repair. But the difference between a stringer, which is that way, and a board, which is that way, is the way it flexes. And so because we've sandwiched our stringer either side like that, I don't think the stringer is going to have enough torsional movement to snap at the end of our lamination, if that makes sense. Whereas with a surfboard this direction and it's bending up and down, the end of our repair can act as like a snapping point, a creasing point. I don't know if I explained that right, but it makes sense in my head. But that's not based on any kind of science. I'll start with that. Based on no scientific research at all, I don't think there would be torsional flex in the stringer in a direction. It would have to move in order to like snap the stringer again, for lack of better words, at the end of our cloth patches. The nose of the board, it would have to be wiggling like tic-tacking a skateboard, you know? Instead of like flexing up and down the way a surfboard does, the stringer would have to be bending left to right. And it just, yeah, I don't think it would happen. Based on no scientific research at all, I don't think there would be enough torsional flex in the stringer in the direction required for the glass of our stringer repair to fracture the stringer further up. That is all only a theory, though. A theory. I'll let you know if the board comes back again. I've done it quite a few times. I haven't had a board come back yet, which probably doesn't mean heaps. But yeah, I just don't think... I think the stringer would have to move from left rail to right rail direction in order for that cloth to affect it, basically. And I don't think a board's going to move that way. Or it shouldn't move that way. If it's moving that way, it's probably got bigger issues than the stringer repair. Love the work ethic. Cheers, Red Russell. We'll see how this series goes. So this is... this is the video that dropped tonight. Some of you might have seen it, others might not have seen it. It's probably going to start out strong. It may be an anticlimax because, in all honesty, I was filming this. I was filming the short series on the crease that we were just talking about. I was filming the wooden board lamination for the members, as well as normal members videos, and also a tail repair on a modern longboard. And so I was so inundated with footage. It was really hard to keep a track of days, boards, which boards were in the video, which ones weren't. I was also fixing a boat and a surf ski, and they're not in the video, but I was they were taking big chunks of my day. Yeah, so we'll see how the series ends. I have no idea. I haven't edited the next one yet, let alone the last one. So hopefully it ends in a meaningful way, but we'll find out. Gwen, I do the same job. Keep going. Very good video. Nice one. Brothers in squeegees. Squeegee? Yeah. Squeegees. What have we got? Pinned. This one's pinned. Oh, wait. Didn't I reply to this? I did. This is the one asking... So, in theory, if I press enter on this link now, there should be no more comments. Or there might be new comments that weren't previously loaded. Oh, there is one. Look at that. Wait, this is on the video. Oh, this is on the last live stream video. I do remember this comment. Drone phobia. This guy is afraid of drones, and he wants to know, hi bro, do you ever get an itchy rash when sanding back? Oh, I know who this is. Since doing the dragon board, I've developed a rash. Any advice, please? Kez, Wales. Kez, that's right. So he's doing a restoration of an old board, and it has the Welsh flag on it, which is a dragon. That's why he calls it the dragon board. Itchy. No, I generally don't. The only time I get itchy is when I am working with chop strand cloth, boats, tractor roofs, caravans, that type of stuff, lawnmowers, all those like industrial fiberglass stuff made of chop strand, that my arms break out in the gnarliest rash. It's so chronic, and I've ruined countless amounts of hoodies and jumpers because all that chop strand gets in the sleeves of the jumper and you'll just never get it out again. So every time you wear that jumper or hoodie, you just break out the same rash. But I can't imagine his board's made of chop strand. It's not that old of a board. So no, I don't know what that is, and it's too old to be epoxy, I would say, so it's probably not an epoxy allergy, which is a good thing. Nobody wants that. So, Kez, you might just be soft, mate. I'll get you a cup of concrete to harden you up. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, really. So I only get itchy and a rash if I'm working on chop strand. I wouldn't think, unless he's doing the repair in chop strand, your board is made of... I wouldn't think your board is made of chop strand though, unless you're repairing with it. That stuff is nightmarish. Your board isn't epoxy either from memory, so it shouldn't be an epoxy allergy, which is good news. Get a sanding suit. That would be my suggestion. Get a sanding suit. They are cheap and do a good job. So I use a sanding suit for shaping, just so I don't get too covered in foam. But when I was automotive painting, we used to wear them a lot. And yeah, they're so cheap. They're worth having around, especially for things like chop strand. I should listen to my own advice and wear a sanding suit when I work with chop strand. I had a guy come in a couple of months ago who's making wooden tabletops, but he's like doing that thing where he plugs terminals into the wood and then puts a charge through it, so it like electrocutes the timber and sort of makes like lightning patterns. Sam didn't know that tractor roofs were fiberglass. Yes, I fixed my fair share of tractor roofs, being kind of close to a farm town here, and lots of them, because they've just got, like, you sit in the seat of the tractor and there's just 4 poles and then just a little fiberglass canopy over the top, and they're all chop strand and they're all horrible. Yeah, so anyway, this guy was electrocuting wood and making tabletops, and then he was doing epoxy on them, and he came to me at some stage just to ask. He was getting like fish eyes and weird things in his epoxy, as people do. So he brought one by to look at, just sort of talk about like, why is it happening? And then I got a call from him maybe a month or two later, and he said, hey, I'm going to pay you to epoxy my tabletops because I'm now allergic to epoxy. He developed an allergy to epoxy, and he can't even be in a room with it anymore. Like, he wouldn't even come into my factory because I work with epoxy in that factory. He can't be anywhere near it. It closes up his throat and he breaks out in a rash, and just awful. And I've spoken to a few people in the past who have it, and once you've got it, there's just no going back. It's kind of my worst fear, to develop an epoxy allergy, because that would be half of my work just no longer doable. I couldn't take epoxy work anymore. So, you guys, that's it. We've answered all of the comments. And how long did that take? I have no idea. There's no way for me to find out. But I feel like it wasn't too bad. And aside from a bit of jumpiness, I will, as the buddy Rory said right in the beginning, Ethernet cable. So I will do that, because sometimes it's good, and sometimes it won't, and that'll happen weeks or months at a time. Yeah, epoxy allergies. It happens to people, and sometimes they get it after working with epoxy for years and years and years, and then suddenly they just can't be anywhere near it, and other people pour it for the first time and realize they're allergic to it. So I don't know what the reason for it is. Yeah, just not worth having. Don't get that. Just over an hour. Nice one. Cool. Yeah, I don't know how do I tell how long it's been? Weird. Well, if there's no more questions and or comments, I'll leave you guys to it. For the members, I've got one more video to put up of the redwood board, the 2 gloss coats they went on over the weekend. So I've got to do that video. I'll do that tomorrow, and then the final video will be the final sand and polish, which should happen this week, and all going well, it'll all be done. So something to look forward to. Other than that, hope you're all well, guys. If you haven't looked at the new video, go look at the new video. Actually, there was one other thing before I go. I did mean to do. Where is that? on here. I have to navigate Studio for a second, but bear with me, guys. Speaking of members and Redwood surfboards and all that kind of stuff. So today, where is he? I'm guessing he. Sorry, she, he, Kelly. Not sure. Actually, no. I'm pretty sure he messaged me on Instagram, fixing a couple of old boards, and Kelly has just become a member of the Small Kind Ding Repairs channel today. So look at that. He hasn't even 0 days. He's fresh as. So Kelly, if you end up watching this, thank you very much. Appreciate it. As always, to all you other legends in this list, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I have to think of something else to give you guys after the Redwood board. Yeah, because it's been good making kind of daily videos, you know. It's been fun, and hopefully good for you guys to keep up with as well. But yeah, that's it. Just over an hour is about perfect. So we'll see you, members, we'll see you tomorrow, and everybody else will see you either in a short this coming week with the Crease series, or we'll see you on Tuesday when we do our next day of our full-length video series. You have a good night too, man. Time for me to get to the repairs. Enjoy, and be careful of epoxy allergies. That's all I say. Hope you're all well, guys. I will work out how to hang this up. Cheers, guys. Have a good one.